Pero I
Ang
don't
dami naman.
pero I don't think it's really the right questions.
Why don't you think it's
Is-
the right questions?
Because parang it's just parang a natural question that anyone could ask.
You should be sure what's the right question kasi ka mag-i-interview. Ang bahala na. Actually, dapat I had this before. Di ba? Ano i-learn mo sa akin? Thank you. And then when you talk to me, gusto ko, yung conversation mo, okay? Ayoko yung, you read the question, I answer. You read the question, I answer. You pretend as if you're really talking to me. Okay, let's start now.
Sir, like considering that today we're in the transition of living in a more liberal society compared to before, how do you think that the society would accept those kinds of relationships?
What kind of relationship?
Student-teacher relationship.
So, I think even if we are living in a liberal society, marami pa rin mga tututol regarding a relationship between a student and a teacher. Kasi I think, the school is a very noble place to be, right? Not only that, not only the school, but also the role of teachers is a very noble social position to fill. Kasi, di ba, as we know in our culture, we consider our teachers to be our second parent, right? So our society expects a lot, or the society standards are so high when it comes to the role of teachers taking care of their students. As in, kapag ang isang estudyante is under a certain teacher, that teacher is expected to behave like parents. Therefore, if the society hears of a teacher having a romantic relationship with a student, di ba parang labas ng incest? It's like a parent having a relationship, a romantic relationship with a kid, so that's incest. So in the same way, I think, even if our society is slowly becoming open-minded, the fact that the school is a noble place to be, that teachers are filling up a very noble position, I don't think the society are still ready to accept the fact that teachers may engage in a romantic relationship with their students.
So, saying that society won't accept it, do you think that one of the factors that would lead to emerge of this kind of relationship are considered to be the desires of the unconscious?
Desires of the unconscious. Who would, sorry, I cannot get
Like, if parang, because the reason why these kinds of relationship actually exist is it because that personally it's a person's desire thinking that we have different kinds of imagination. So because you see that the student is young and she's pretty, do you think that it's part of the desire?
Even for the teacher?
Yes, for the teacher.
I don't think so. Kasi, for you to fall in love with someone, it takes a lot of conscious thinking, right? But that's my personal opinion, Pero if you're going to consider psychological theories, like for example, that's that of Sigmund Freud, well, that theory may explain why certain teachers fall in love with their students. Like for example, in the psychology of Sigmund Freud, we have what we call transference. Transference, ang ibig sabihin niya, is when you see the role of a very important person in your life towards another person. So in the case of a teacher falling in love with a student, ang posibleng transference dyan is maybe the teacher is seeing someone that he lacks in his life towards the student that he or she is teaching. So if you're asking me, is it possible for a teacher to fall in love with a student unconsciously? Well, if you're going to use the theory of Sigmund Freud, then it becomes possible. But in my personal opinion, because I am not a strong believer of Sigmund Freud, in my personal opinion, I don't think that you are going to fall in love with your student without any conscious, without any conscious thinking. Laging meron kang rason why you fall in love with your student. So my answer is twofold. personal opinion, I don't think that may happen. But of course, in the perspective of Sigmund Freud, then it can.
So, yeah. So, do you think that people um, who were punished with jail time, do they really deserve that?
What's the
Like they'll be in prison for 4 years, just like one of the cases in America where the judge sentenced the teacher to, I think, 8 years in prison because of having a sexual affair with her student.
And so, what's the question?
Do you think that parang do they deserve it?
Well, it depends on how the teacher acted on the feeling. Like for example, the teacher you were talking about was what, in prison because of having a relationship with a student. But how was the relationship? Was it sexual?
Yeah, it was a sexual.
Okay, I think if it's sexual, then I think that's just fair. Because for me, that's your student. Your primary reason why you have that person under you is to lead this person towards knowledge, not towards sexual pleasure, right? As a teacher, since you are an adult over this person, dapat ikaw yung mas klaro mag-isip, you know? Dapat mas alam mo na it's not right to do those things, and ginawa mo pa rin. So, if you're asking me, was just a right punishment? I think so, yes. Just like how we punish parents for committing incest with their children, right? I mean, mas grabe pa nga yata kapag ang kaso mo incest. So, yes, I think it's just fair.
Do you think if possible, let's say, the both of them were separated by force, do you think that it would have a psychological impact on both of them?
Of course. You know, any people who fall in love and they like each other and you forcefully separate them from each other may have certain psychological effects like depression, anxiety, or anger, or self-blame for not doing anything about the separation. Of course.
Do you think that these psychological disorders would be treated in the future?
What disorders?
Like,
We're not talking about disorders.
I mean, like if it would have a psychological impact on the person, right?
Of
So
course, yeah.
let's say the person already has depression
Mhm.
because of the force, because they were separated by force. Do you think that these kinds of depression would be treated in the future? I mean, they would be like they would become mentally healthy again.
Of course. There are certain psychological techniques that we use to help people who are psychologically ill. You know, but again, it depends on the severity of the illness. There are some illnesses that when you are within that level of illness, parang imposible na gumaling pa. You know? So it depends on the severity of the illness. If the illness is not that serious, kung mababaw pa lang, it's treatable, then this person can still get better. But if the illness has gone so bad, beyond repair, then I don't think any psychological techniques can improve the condition of that person.
Thank you. That's all. Yes. Thank you.
Asan yung tanong mo na